Good evening, I'm Kurt Gutgsell. Recently, the IU Tailgate Tour visited Jasper. IU basketball coach Tom Crean was on hand, as well as IU women's basketball coach Kurt Miller, as well as Don Fisher, the legendary play-by-play voice of Indiana football and basketball. Fisher looked back at this past basketball season and touched on many other IU topics.
Well, it was in a season, in my opinion, that expectations were a little bit too high in the sense of what people thought, because, you know, Andy Katz, I think, anoints them as the #1 team in the country 4 or 5 days after the Final Four the previous year. And when you have those kinds of expectations, I think it builds a lot of pressure. But I will say this, that the team, I thought, and Coach Crean and his staff did a remarkable job of handling all those expectations and living up to them for the most part. Now, did they go to the Final Four? No, and they didn't win a national championship. But to make 2 Sweet 16s back-to-back, you just don't do that very often. And in this particular situation, with the 3 previous years having won 28 games and then to come back and win 56 in the next 2 years, that's remarkable. So from my perspective, maybe in some people's minds this team didn't quite live up to the expectations, but I think that they lived up to more and exceeded them in some respects, because this team won the Big Ten championship on the last day of the regular season in the toughest conference in the country. That's all needs to be said.
Don, you saw the program at its lowest. Did you expect Tom to turn around this fast?
You know, I thought that it would turn. To the degree that it turned, probably not, because, like I said, 56 wins in 2 years, 27 2 years ago and 29 this past year. That's tremendous. And then to win a Big Ten on top of it. So in truth, the expectations could have been, well, we expect you to compete and maybe win a Big Ten championship. To talk about a Final Four and a national championship, I don't care how good your talent is, you've got to have a little luck. And you better be playing your best basketball at the end of the season, which obviously we were not at the end of this particular season.
Switching gears to next year, what are the prospects?
Well, it's hard to know, because you've got 7 guys that are off this particular basketball team, and you've got 6 incoming freshmen who are going to be expected to do quite a bit. And you've got Yogi Ferrell, who started at point guard, and Will Sheehy was the 6th man. Those are probably your 2 guys that you build the nucleus around, with Jeremy Hollowell in the background and some of the other freshmen. But this is going to be an interesting scenario because, and again, Tom knows what building is all about, as everybody has seen, but at the same time, it's a different kind of building now. And those freshmen are going to be, some of them are going to be expected to contribute right away. And unlike last year's freshman class, which kind of got off to a rough start with the 9-game suspension to 2 players, and Derek Elston never came back really healthy. Those things are all reasons why that team didn't accomplish quite what they expected to accomplish. But that said, I'm looking forward to it. I always think it's neat to have new kids coming in and to get a chance to see these guys develop and the opportunities they present themselves. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Next up for you is football. What do you see out of the football Hoosiers?
Well, they went 1 win and 4 wins in the 2 seasons under Kevin Wilson, and I went to spring practice several times this spring, and I was really impressed with what I saw. What I saw was a change in the culture, so to speak. That's what Coach Wilson was trying to do in that first year, and the results didn't prove it. And then last year, of course, we lose our quarterback in the 2nd game of the season, and that hurt us, there's no question. But that team still won 4 games, 2 of them in the Big Ten. So I really think that there was progress made. And then this spring, I just saw a different football team. Yes. These guys were, they were in great physical condition. You didn't have to tell them what to do. They were there doing it. And there's an attitude change there as well. This coach and his staff are a tough bunch of guys, and this team is taking on that personality. And that is something we really need to see at Indiana. And so I look for big things this fall. 8 home ball games, you know that's going to be an advantage. And hopefully this team will take it to the next level, which means a bowl game.
Don, you've had your long, distinguished career we all enjoy listening to, call the play-by-play. What stands out to you the most after all these years and some of the highlights that you've had?
Well, I've had so many, Kurt. I mean, you start thinking about highlights, and I mean, you can go back to last year in the Kentucky win. I thought that was the turning point of the program for Tom. But getting Cody Zeller to come to Indiana, that was a huge turning point for this program. And then you go back to the wins of the national championships and the Big Ten titles under Bob Knight. I've been blessed to be able to do so many neat things with this program and to do things that a little farm guy from Northern Illinois would have never gotten to do if he would have stayed back on the farm. But it's been so much fun for me, and as I've told everybody, I'm a blessed person with what I've had a chance to do here in the last 40 years at IU. And there are so many different things that stand out. It's too strong to mention, but you know what probably stands out as much as anything are the great people I've had a chance to work with. And the Bob Knight, one of the great iconic coaches of all time. I got to work with guys like Lee Corso, who's maybe not the greatest football coach, but certainly one of the most exciting personalities you'll ever be around, and one of the most effervescent personalities I've ever been involved with. And Bill Mallory was as class of an act as you'll ever find at Indiana University, and I thought Bill Lynch was that kind of guy too. I'm only sad that Terry Hepner wasn't around longer, because he was such a tremendous person, and I think he would have turned the program much quicker than it has turned. That said, we've got great guys now in Tom Crean and Kevin Wilson. So the people that I've worked with have been as much a part of it as the athletic part of it and the athletes themselves.
That's legendary IU broadcaster Don Fisher. Stay tuned, we'll have more WJTS 18 News right after this.